didn't want to, but she made me do it, always nagging me. I'd do the same thing again.
Criminal interrogation is the peace officer's oldest tool. When handled properly, it can be the most effective. We hope to show you within the next few minutes several approaches to the art of interrogation. Questions without answers are pointless. Anyone can ask questions, but the criminal never answers until a reason for answering builds up within himself. The man who asks the questions has one of the most exacting jobs confronting the law enforcement officer of today. The interrogator must be a salesman and a good one. He must employ human understanding, and he must be able to recognize and interpret the various expressions of emotion. He must cry and laugh. He must get tough, and he must show understanding. No crime is solved without investigation. During the course of interviews and criminal research, an officer is led to a logical suspect. And it is through investigation that an officer forms a background from which he draws his questions for the interrogation. Many times an officer may know he has the right man, but his information is weak and wouldn't support a conviction. He needs a written confession. But how? Most criminals know the marvels of modern law enforcement, and they know the effects of a carefully prepared alibi. But there's one way. They won't talk, but their emotions will. It's simply a matter of reading the suspect's emotions and pressing in the right direction until he breaks. There's time for everything, and the time for interrogation is always an important factor. In some instances, the case is hot and demands immediate questioning of the suspect. But in most instances, many days have passed and there is no immediate need to interrogate, thereby giving the officer more time for a thorough investigation. Background information is an absolute necessity. Learn all there is to know about the suspect's activities, his family, his education, associates, hobbies, personality, and criminal record. Background information is the source of your questions during interrogation. An interrogator should know what evidence and admissions are needed in order to make the case legally complete, and then he should strive to reach that goal throughout the questioning. Most everything affects us emotionally in one way or another. For that reason, a suspect must be placed in the right setting for interrogation. If at all possible, question the suspect in a private and quiet place and free of interference. A small room is right, but as the old saying goes, you can't take it with you. So the working officer finds himself questioning suspects in homes, cars, cafes, and hotels. But if you feel he's the man, take him back to the small room at headquarters. Notice this, the chief's office with a convenient telephone. You about have him cornered. He's ready to break, but all's lost. The wife wants to know what you want for dinner. Or perhaps this is the closest route to the coffee shop. Then again, maybe that vice of yours is just too fascinating. Careful attention should be given to the setting. Give the subject a comfortable seat, a low one, always a little lower than the interviewer's chair. The effect is a psychological mastery or domination. Sit close and lean forward so the subject can feel your closeness. This helps project the interrogator's thoughts and feelings. Look the suspect in the eyes to observe eye movements and physical changes that might indicate deception. If you can't look him in the eyes, watch an imaginary X on the forehead or nose. It's the same effect. Once deception is detected, you know you're on the right track. But be careful to avoid psychological and physical obstructions such as a desk, taking notes, pacing the floor, chewing gum, and improper dress. You, the interrogator, must give the suspect your undivided attention without emotional competition. Sit close and look him in the eyes. Master the situation. There are many approaches to use in interrogation. It's up to the officer to select the right one. If one doesn't work, try another. Here's what's called the logical approach. It's usually the first try on a person who has previous convictions.
All right, Joe, you've been all through this before. You've been convicted 4 times, and we've got you made in this one. The best thing you can do is clear up all your cases at once and try to get the sentences to run concurrently. If you don't, we'll have to file new cases as they come in. You lose all your good time and privileges earned in the pen. And when you get out, we'll be there waiting for you. Of course, you know we can file a obituary on you at this time.
Okay, if I tell you everything I know, can I get all of my sentences to run together?
I feel sure you can, but we'll have to talk to the DA.
Here's that same logical approach on a man without prior conviction, but a person who knows his rights. You know the type.
I don't have nothing to say. I want a lawyer. He'll do my talking.
My partner's calling you a lawyer now. But what do you think the lawyer's going to have to say when he gets down here and finds out that you were caught on that job working on the safe?
Well, I tell you, sir, I'd just rather not make no comment.
Listen, what about these other burglaries?
Well, I'm not going to say nothing.
What are you going to do when the fingerprint man testifies at your trial that he found your prints on the safe?
Which one?
Well, now, which one is for you to say? But the best thing you can do is get all of them cleared up and get your business all straightened out at one time.
What good would that do?
You might get your sentences to run concurrently.
Well, I don't know.
What time did you go on that job anyhow?
In the grocery?
Listen, guess again. I'll bet you've pulled at least 10 jobs in my town.
No, I didn't pull no 10. I only pulled 6 jobs in your town, but I didn't pull 10.
Just 6?
Yes, sir, just 6.
In many cases, the officer may find the only way to influence the suspect is by playing on his sympathy. Take, for example, this individual who was arrested after being surprised in the act of burglary. He was an antisocial and a police hater, but had no previous convictions.
Look, I'm not telling you anything. If you got anything on me, go on, convict me.
It's not you I'm interested in. The officer, he got your license number before he went into the building. And we've got other evidence on you. It's this poor kid over here in the other room that I'm worried about. His mother, she's dying. It's cancer. She may go now just any minute. He wants to go home and see her. But he cannot go until this thing gets completely straightened out. If you did the shooting, he might be able to get his bond reduced and go home to see his mother just one more time before she dies and passes on into the great beyond. We can understand why you'd shoot an officer when surprised in the act of burglary. But we cannot understand why you would deny your best friend the opportunity to see his mother just one more time before she dies and passes on. Are you that cold-blooded? Are you that cruel? No, I don't think you are. If you did the shooting, let that boy go home. He wants to see his mother. She loves him. She wants to see him. Let him go.
You mean you let him go if I say I did the shoot?
That depends on the facts.
Well, if it was just me, I wouldn't tell you the time of day, but that kid and his old lady, yeah, I did it.
You did the shooting?
I did it.
Where's the gun?
I told you. I did it. Let him go.
He can't get out on bond just because you say you did the shooting. We've got to have proof. Where's the gun?
Well, I'll take you to it if you'll do one thing for me.
What's that?
Tell the kid that I did it for him and for his old lady.
The approach you use must fit the case and, more importantly, the individual. Sometimes it takes a combination approach to draw a confession. Sometimes you must reverse all your tactics. Here's an individual charged with beating his common law wife to death with a hammer. In the suspect's mind, the action must be justified. So the approach was a combination of face-saving and sympathy. He was kept under psychological pressure, but he refused to break even though he was on the borderline. A change in technique was applied. The new interrogator sat back and applied himself softly. The purpose was to allow the suspect's pent-up emotions to expand, and expand they did.
Now, Marks, you're just a poor old man. That woman took advantage of you. We know she did. She took all your money and took your home. Then when she found out you had nothing left, she tried to run out on you. We believe she lied on you. We don't believe you did all those things she said you did. But we only have her story, Marks. Tell us the truth. Give us your side. We know you'll feel better if you tell us the truth.
You're right. I didn't do all those other things. I did hit her with a hammer, but I didn't do those other things she said I did.
The interrogator may find individuals who are not influenced by the sympathetic or logical approaches. Sometimes these individuals can be thrown off guard through an aggressive approach. This word of caution, however, it should not be overdone. Here's an example that drew a confession.
Look, pretty boy, you're nothing but a disgrace to your family. If you're like anybody else, you shame them in the eyes of all their friends. Usually a child is a direct reflection on their parents and their teaching. Did they teach you to lie? Did they teach you to steal? No. A common prostitute once told me that she had one consolation. That is, that there's one person lower than what she is, and that's a pimp. A plain, ordinary pimp, and you are one by your own admission. Now, if you want to remove some of the shame and disgrace that you put against your parents, then you'd start telling the truth about this. I hope you don't, so you'll get 15 years instead of 2 or 3 that an ordinary person will get. I'm not wasting my time with you anymore. You're just not worth it.
It takes many types of persons to make a world. Some like to be friends. The friendly approach can be very effective on this type of person. Just watch the technique of this officer.
Where's that cop? He's been mouthing to me about my mom and daddy all day long, and I'm getting tired of it. Get him back in here. I'm going to tell him just what I think of him. Get him in here.
Settle down now, man. Losing your temper like that and blowing your top's not going to do anything but cause you a lot more trouble. You got more trouble now than you know what to do with. You keep pumping that officer like that, and he'll flip you before you know what happened to you. Here, try one of these cigarettes. You know what you need more than anything else right now is a friend, somebody that can help you on down the line. Now, what you need to do is to get your business straightened out. Get this cat off your back. I know you got a lot to tell me. You tell me this whole story, and who knows, you might help yourself. You haven't helped yourself up to now. Now, you level with me. Tell me the whole story. We'll go downstairs and get a cup of coffee and get relaxed.
I'll tell you this. I wouldn't tell that other guy the time of day. But if you'll get him out of it, and I mean plumb out of it, I'll tell you everything I know.
The approaches you have just seen can be altered to fit the personality of the suspect at hand. If you are interrogating the talkative type, let him talk and console him. Let him commit himself by minor admissions.
Man, if you think I'd steal an old green Chevrolet like that, you just don't know my style.
Look, son, how did you know it was green?
It's always wise to surprise the confident type of person with concrete evidence. It deflates his confidence.
Captain, you want to tell him what you've got on him? Why should we tell him anything? We've got him uptight. We'll just file a Mitchell on him.
What? Hey, wait a minute, Cap. Let me talk to you. Wait a minute. Cap?
Then you have the don't remember type who fakes amnesia. He's the forgetful individual who doesn't remember his mother's name. Oftentimes, a polygraph test will help to restore his memory as it records the conscious mind. Play on the suspect's dominant characteristics. If he's arrogant, play on the suspect's arrogance any way possible. It always builds his ego when you explain the smartness of his crime. He likes to hear that no one else could have his know-how. Here's what we mean.
Look, Frank, I always thought you was one of the best torch men in the business.
Are you going to sit there and tell me that somebody else can use a torch and burn a safe as good as you can? The MO on all these jobs are the same. Now, if you didn't cut this safe, there's somebody else in the business is just as good as you are with a torch.
Look, Lieutenant, you know there ain't nobody can burn a box like I can. I'll take it.
Every individual has a different personality. The approach used in interrogation must fit that personality. Sometimes it's a basic approach. Sometimes it's a combination of two or more approaches. In order to fit the approach to the suspect, the officer must have the know-how and the right personality to apply it. With the right approach at the right time, admissions come more frequently. That right time usually can be determined by close observation of the suspect. In most cases, the suspect will give the officer a clue to his weakening by some verbal or physical action. You may notice a reddening of the eyes or excessive sweating. The changes might show up in the sudden inability of the suspect to look at the interrogator, or he may have unusual facial movements or expressions. Sometimes it's an obvious movement of the whole body. Your subject may break down and sob, or rage forth with a sudden fit of temper. The cue for the breaking time may be when he asks for a cigarette. If your suspect seems to be at the breaking point, gather all the wits within you and be relentless in your approach. For if he falls back from the emotional peak, he may slide away fast, and you may never again build enough emotion within him to bring forth a confession. You, as the interrogators, must use your own good common sense and your understanding of human nature. Classify your suspect, locate his weaknesses, and play them to the hilt. In bringing your interrogation to a close, do not show any sign of triumph or ridicule or embarrassment. Corroborate his statement and present the case to the prosecuting attorney in a well-prepared form. Remember, a jury rules on evidence it has heard. It's up to you to get all the evidence you can from the person who's charged. And it's up to you as the interrogator to present all the evidence to the prosecuting attorney. He cannot prosecute on evidence he does not have.